So let's talk about this dude, Osho. You've probably seen pictures of him. Long white beard, gentle eyes, maybe a funky hat. He looks like a wizard who retired to open a yoga studio. Born Chandra Mohan Jain in India, one of the most controversial spiritual figures of the 20th century. He wasn't your typical quiet guru meditating on a mountaintop. No. Osho was loud. He was a showman. Eastern mysticism, Western psychology, a dash of capitalism. Creating a spiritual cocktail, intoxicating or poisonous, depending on who you ask. So what did Osho actually say that caused such a fuss? Let's get into it. First up, sex. In a world, both in India and the West, that was pretty buttoned up about the topic. Osho called for total sexual freedom. He said sex was a natural, beautiful energy, and repressing it was the root of all kinds of psychological problems. He famously taught that one could move from sex to superconsciousness, meaning that physical intimacy could be a stepping stone to spiritual enlightenment. This earned him the nickname the sex guru from the press. Osho basically took every organized religion, put them in a blender, and hit the pulverize button. He called priests and politicians the mafia of the soul. Christianity, Hinduism, Islam. He said God wasn't some old man in the sky but a state of consciousness available to everyone. He wanted people to find their own truth, not follow dusty old rules from a book. In India, Osho's home country, the backlash was fierce and deeply personal. It started with his views on sex. India, despite its ancient traditions like the Kama Sutra, had become very socially conservative, so when this guy comes along and says sex is the path to God, it was seen as a direct attack on Indian culture and morality. The media labeled him the sex guru. For many Indians, he was corrupting the youth and disrespecting the sacred traditions of the nation. He was seen as an agent of chaos, bringing Western-style decadence to a country that valued restraint. But it wasn't just about sex. After things got too hot in India, Osho and his followers decided to pack up and move to America. They bought a massive ranch in rural Oregon in 1981 and set out to build Rajneeshpuram. At first, honestly, it looked like a miracle. Farms, schools, an airport. It was the ultimate expression of Osho's vision, a self-sufficient community, dedicated to meditation and celebration. The problem started with the neighbors, Antelope, Oregon, a small conservative town. Suddenly, next to thousands in red robes, they practiced dynamic meditation, which involves a lot of screaming and chaotic movement. The locals were terrified. Osho's followers started using their numbers to take over the local town council to legal battles. This is where the story takes a dark turn, moving from controversial teachings to actual crimes. To win a local election, the commune's leaders, including Ma Anand Sheela, contaminated salad bars in nearby towns with salmonella, poisoning over 750 people. When you look at why people criticized Osho, it's like watching two different movies. The criticisms from India and the West came from completely different places. In India, the outrage was primarily cultural and moral. It was about honor, tradition, religion. Osho was seen as a threat to the Indian way of life. The criticism in the West, on the other hand, was much more practical and legal. The real panic button was pushed when the commune started behaving like a hostile state. In India, the headlines screamed, "Sex Guru." They focused on his decadent lifestyle, the Rolls Royces. In the United States, the headlines shifted to "Cult, Bioterror, Armed Compound." The Indian government fought him with bureaucracy and public shaming. The United States fought him with the FBI and the legal system. One side saw him as a spiritual corrupter, the other as a criminal mastermind. So while both East and West found him dangerous, they had very different reasons for coming to that conclusion. This divergence shows how Osho's message landed differently in different cultural contexts. In India, his biggest crime was redefining what it meant to be holy. In America, his biggest crime was trying to build a society that operated outside of American laws. So, after all the scandals, the arrests, and the headlines, what's a person to think? Was Osho a dangerous rebel or a fearless revolutionary? The fascinating thing is, his admirers look at the exact same facts as his critics and see a completely different story. They have a defense for every single controversy. The sex guru label? His followers say that was a deliberate misinterpretation by a sensationalist press. The Rolls Royces? They defend it by saying it was a giant cosmic joke on the world's obsession with poverty as a sign of spirituality. He was showing that enlightenment and abundance could coexist. What about the Oregon commune and all the crimes? This is the toughest one to defend. Most of them place the blame squarely on Ma'anan Sheila and her inner circle. They argue that Osho was in silence and seclusion, and that Sheila, driven by power, created a fascist regime without his knowledge or consent. They see Osho as the ultimate victim of her betrayal. In their view, the failure of the commune doesn't invalidate his teachings, it just proves how easily power can corrupt people. His meditation centers are still active all over the world. His teachings on meditation, living in the present and celebrating life continue to inspire millions. The story of Osho is a powerful reminder that one person's dangerous rebel is another person's enlightened teacher, and his legacy is proof that the most powerful ideas are always the ones that shock us the most.